Welcome back, crew, to Boats vs. Haulover, where man and machine take on Mother Nature down at Haulover Inlet in Miami, Florida. But if you can't tell, this isn't Haulover. Heck, this isn't even Miami. We are way up north today in New Jersey, visiting the Point Pleasant Canal, and this vessel has found itself in a little bit of mischief. I can't tell 100%, but it appears they've lost steering somehow. They wind up issuing a distress call, and the Coast Guard is the first to respond on the scene to try and offer assistance to the vessel. Now, this is a twin screw boat, so they still have some sort of steering by being able to counter steer the motors, but with the current ripping so strong here in the canal, it's still not quite enough for them to have full control over the vessel, so the Coast Guard quickly jumps into action to try and initiate a tow so they can hopefully get this vessel out of traffic's way and into safety. And here we can see as the crew's waiting on the Coast Guard to get them hooked up, the crew winds up putting the boat into the wall. Now, I don't know if you've ever been on a vessel and experienced this, but losing steering on a boat can be an extremely stressful situation. I've had it happen once on a vessel, and one of the toughest things to figure out about this is most of the time when it happens on a boat, you're probably going straight. All of a sudden, an alarm will go off on your vessel, and you might spend the next few minutes trying to figure out exactly what's wrong, because the reality is, nothing feels wrong. Both motors are still running, you're still going forward, and so you're not 100% sure what exactly the alarm is. And of course, you're not really going to figure out what that alarm is until you actually need to steer and realize the boat's not turning. And at that point, it's probably already too late, and you've probably already found yourself in a little bit of trouble, kind of like this crew has here. My one experience actually happened 40 miles offshore, so picture that one for a moment, being 40 miles from port, and all of a sudden there's an alarm going off on your boat. Now, fortunately for us, we were already heading back towards shore when this happened. We quickly tried to diagnose the problem, but quickly realized as we started going through everything, it felt like everything was fine. Both motors were running, we didn't see any water or anything, no smoke, nothing to kind of trigger any alarms to us, so we decided just to hit the throttle and continue on back to shore. And we made it all 40 miles back to shore without actually knowing what the alarm was, and that's how confusing these situations can be from time to time. For us, as we approached the inlet, I happened to turn around and look as we were turning in to notice that only one of my motors was steering and the other one was staying straight, and that's when I realized it was a steering malfunction. Now, we were very fortunate in our situation because once we got into shore, we were able to power the entire boat down by turning all the batteries off for a few minutes, and when we turned everything back on, fortunately, the steering turned back on as well. So I can definitely understand the stress of the situation that this boater is going through. Now, our situation was my fault a little bit as well. One of the reasons we couldn't figure out the issue is like a bonehead, I'd left the electronics cover on my steering module, which is where the alarm was coming from with a warning message, but unfortunately because I left that cover on, we never saw the warning until we got back into shore. Now, fortunately for this crew, they're inshore here at the canal that has its ups and its downs. The upside, the Coast Guard was able to quickly get over here and try and lend these guys a hand. The bad side, well, it's the canal. It's got an extremely strong current, it's a really busy waterway, and it's a very tight, narrow waterway at that. And of course, the entire thing's in no wake zone, which means they really can't open the motors up at all to try and use the power from the motors to be able to steer and control the vessel. In other words, the canal winds up having its way with this boat, and of course that means the canal is going to take the win in this episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boats vs. Haulover. If you did, please check out our other content. We have Wavy Boats, who does a bunch of great things down at the inlets. My channel, Broncos Guru, do some great comedy boating videos there as well. And of course, we got the Miami Boat Ramps channel that focuses on all the hilarity that happens to the boat ramps in South Florida. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.